O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible...
Assalamu alaikum, family. You're tuned into the Sajdah channel. We are doing this outside. I don't know what a good idea that was or not, but I just felt like being outside. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you guys can hear me okay. As soon as I came out here, it looks like somebody's house alarm is going off, but the sunrise was beautiful. So let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Give me a quick thumbs up in the chat. Man, we got a few things to talk about. It's so much stuff happening right now. Here in Chicago, we're being possibly threatened by a massive ICE deportation and the National Guard and all of that stuff. And it's just different times. And yeah, I won't speak on it, but it's just a lot. We have mass shootings still happening, the stuff that went on in Minnesota this week. Just terrible. Just terrible. My prayers go out to the family. Um, there's just a lot. And so I think we all have to, not I think, but during this time, I would say we all should be prayerful, stay close to one another. I think the landscape in which we live in is changing. And you all probably remember I talked about that a while ago, where I said, I think it was like around COVID time, where I started talking about how, I'm sorry, I'm fidgeting, y'all. I started to talk about how not only was the economy changing, but just the world in which we live in is changing. And I think that the universe is transitioning us out of this kind of rugged individualism. Um, I got a headset on, you guys. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I think the universe is transitioning us out of this sort of rugged individualism and into more tribal family thinking mindsets. And I think we're going to continue to see this shift, especially for us as Black people. And I want to talk about that. I got some notes here. Um, I titled this subject This or That. And I think you all know, you all have seen me talk about this before. I go into this extensively in my new book. My new book. Speaking of which, it should be out to you guys in the next few days. I finished it, submitted it. We're working on the site. That's why I'm looking crazy, because I literally have not had any sleep. I didn't really eat all week because I just wanted to make sure that I got this book out, and something just kept telling me, get it out, get it out, get it out. But it's called The Art and Science of Business. And I'll go over some of the chapters a little later in the talk today. But this particular subject came up in my spirit, and I said, this would be a good thing for us to talk about today. Okay. Um, Especially as we go into DecaFest. Y'all remember what DecaFest is? Nobody? Okay. DecaFest is the 10 days between my birth anniversary and my spiritual anniversary. So it's a 10-day period. And actually, my good Sister Sajdah, came with the subjects each day. And so we're going to do that again. I'll air last year's DecaFest 10 days, but then we'll also do our own DecaFest starting. But I'll explain more about that tomorrow. But um, this subject that came up in my spirit and said, really drive this home, this concept of forcing us to be binary thinkers. Binary thinkers. I have a whole chapter in the book on mathematical thinking. And mathematical thinking means that, as a God, you learn how to go into different aspects and different types of thinking patterns in order to solve a problem or in order to elevate. Every time there's a problem or something that happens in your life that you could design as a problem, it's an opportunity to grow and to develop. Okay. And so, binary thinking is this, and it's very, to me, it's really being pushed now on social media. And we've all been reduced to this binary thinking type of pattern. It's that thing where they tell us this or that. I call it colonialized, like slave thinking, where they tell you, do you like Prince or Michael Jackson? And then they come up with these polls on the internet and you got to pick one, or Malcolm or Martin, right? Um, Drake or Kendrick. Then you had the recent rap battle between Drake and Kendrick. And those of us that grew up on hip hop, we know rap battles, but this one to me was almost a little bit more divisive because of the use of the internet that was trying to force people to pick sides. Because back in the day, we just kind of enjoyed it all. You know, when Ice Cube snapped back at NWA, and we just was jamming to it all, right? No matter what beefs there were. But this time, I could see the binary. I could see the coercion into binary thinking happening during this beef. They do it with Beyonce and Rihanna. Um, why do we have to do that? Why do we got to pick sides? I want to give you some statistics on this. Okay. Research in psychology shows that binary framing activates conflict faster and makes people less likely to cooperate. That's according to Cornell University. They did a study in 2020, and they said that this or that, this Prince, Michael Jackson, Rihanna, Beyonce, this or that kind of thinking. They do it with religion, Christian or Islam. And when you really start to study and become a true seeker, you start to see the synergies in just about everything. And one of the things that I've deployed in my life to kind of help me move away from binary thinking, because it's something that I recognized a long time ago, is I just look for God in everything. So if I'm on YouTube and I go past a Christian minister, I'm looking for what I identify as the Spirit of God. If I don't see it, then I keep going. But I'm looking for that through line in every single thing that I do. If it's, no matter what it is, I'm looking for that through line. And I think this is those of you who are spiritual or religious like I am, then that's a way to do it. Another way to do it is to just understand that nothing is ever this or that. It's never that black or white. And just like Cornell University said, binary framing. So when you frame an argument as this or that, if you're trying to start something between people, or you're trying to start something or corner somebody, use binary framing, because what that does is it activates the conflict faster and makes people less likely to cooperate. And here's why. Because once the binary framing is introduced to you, you say, okay, Drake or Kendrick Lamar, then there's other subconscious programming that occurs that makes you identify with one side or another. And so then once you identify with Michael Jackson, then maybe you can't like something that Prince did, or vice versa, right? Um, or if and they do that, they do that a lot in politics. Okay. And then here's the thing. Once we pick a side, they cause us to identify with it. And then they start to attack. You start to see the attacks of the side that we chose. So it's always keeping us insecure, because first you destroy our relationships by making us binary. So, and I'm using pop culture, where it just seems like things are always this or that. I see all these relationship shows or relationship conversations on YouTube, black men versus black women, and it's always this or that. When in fact, we live very multifactorial lives. Things are very complex, but binary framing is a way of simplifying things so that you can then be manipulated. So when I simplify something, force you to choose a side, alienate you from the people on the other side, and then I pull the rug out from up under you based on the side that you chose. And now don't get me wrong, there are times when binary thinking is necessary, where you got to break something down, like, is it this or that? Let me make a choice, right? It's like if you're trying to choose what to wear, you're either going to choose this or that. That's binary, right? And that's a good place to be binary, right? Am I going to wear these heels and commit to them, or am I just going to wear my flats? So that's an example, a simple example of when binary thinking actually works. But even when they teach us history, it's either like slave or free, black or white, light or dark. This is part of what we call this Willie Lynch type of thinking. And for the internet, it's perfect, right? Because division sells. So if you get two people arguing and they just can't agree on a point, they're both very extreme, it sells. Why does it sell? Because it's the framework that we're offered, and we all choose a side. We go, okay, no, I like what she's saying, or I like what he's saying. And it even works in terms of strategy when people are doing PR against you, because once they get the group to say, I don't like her or I don't like him, once they say per se assassinate you in the press and make you unlikable, then it's hard to get elected. It's easy to accept when a person gets attacked. If you try to step up and say, hey, like a Kanye West, like, look, they did this to me, they did that to me, then people are saying, oh, no, that he's crazy. But that propaganda goes out there, and because they know that in pop culture they've trained us to be binary thinkers, it's very difficult for us to see a good point in somebody that we've already sided against. Okay, so this division sells. Let me give you another statistic. Divisive posts are 70% more likely to be shared than positive or balanced one. That's NYU 2021. I was watching, I won't say what show it is because I don't want to alienate the sister, but I was watching a podcast, and the sister was trying to report the news, but she was being very neutral. And there was a person on the other side that was asking her questions like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And she was trying to be very balanced. And people in the comments were calling her weak because she was trying to take a balanced approach to a very complex subject. So we've gotten so addicted and reduced to this binary thinking that if a person is using any other thought form in front of us, we are looking at it as weak. We want people to take a stance. We want people to stand down. And that makes sense. There are some things that you cannot compromise about, but we got to understand that there's complexity. So NYU in 2021 did a study saying that divisive posts are 70% more likely to be shared than positive or balanced one. That's why controversy sells, right? Things like when they say Drake versus Kendrick, this isn't just entertainment. They're data collecting, they're advertising, they're doing cultural manipulation with that. So something that we used to do back in the day, just having rap beefs or joning on one another, laughing at each other. I ran into some friends from college the other day, and there was one particular friend who did something pretty funny back in the day, and we were laughing, we were teasing him. Well, see, pop culture would take that and manipulate that and make it us against him. And then, whereas before, a rap battle was just a rap battle. They did the same thing with Pac and Biggie. It just kept exacerbating, and that divisiveness sold. And ultimately, I believe, got them both unalived. Who gains when we're busy fighting over choices instead of creating new one? Who wins when we are so elementary in our thinking that we can't even recognize binary thinking when we see it? If you're a leader and you run a business, you run an organization, this is not the way you want to run your organization. You know, you hear people say, well, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. And if you can't do this, then I don't. You're going to have to learn to deal in complexities. We are going to have to learn. Manifest in the face of controversy. What do I mean by that? You may have a manager that works for you that has some really good traits and has some challenges. If you're a binary thinker, then you'll be like, look, I got to let them go right away because of those few things that I don't like. Now, depending upon, what those few things are, but you're not going to find somebody that is 100% the way you want them to be. You may say, I have this manager. She's very reliable. She's a key holder to the business. She comes in, but the downfall is that she's a little slow, or she's not really good with customer service, or, there could be anything. But we got to understand, just like in any relationship, and again, we've been using this binary thinking in our interpersonal relationship as well, this man versus woman type of thing. But if he don't do this, if he ain't got no money, if he don't make this, if he don't da 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 da, it's like we can't even have a basic relationship with somebody. Do you know that you can take a relationship where you all started off attracted to one another and become really great friends because you see the beauty of the different traits that that person carries that could benefit both of you in a relationship. And so you say, you know what, I love this person enough to have a friendship with them, but maybe not a romantic relationship or a marital relationship. Those type of things happen. But when you are so stuck on this or that, then when the relationship goes bad, everything goes bad. I could say more about that, but I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna give you a few things that I looked up, and I'm reading from this excerpt of my book. Some of the damage that binary thinking, or I won't say binary thinking, but our addiction to binary thinking, and even our subconscious addiction to binary thinking has caused damage. It causes spiritual harm, where we lose the ability to hold multiple truths. Do you all know that several things can be true at once? And so being addicted to binary behavior makes us very judgmental. So if we see a person and we say, well, they're supposed to be all that, but I saw them doing so and so, so and so. And then it's like we throw away all the other great traits that that person has just because we saw this one thing. So it does spiritual harm to us, and it doesn't allow us to value one another, and it makes us very judgmental. We think just because we saw one thing that happened, we want to throw away everything about that person. It causes economic harm because the competition that it creates overshadows our ability to collaborate. It creates a competition that overshadows our ability to collaborate. Because let's say we're both in an organization, or we're both business people and we're near each other. If we're so over focused on competition, then when we need to collaborate, maybe we can come together and purchase some supplies together and get them cheaper and increase our margins. That's collaboration. That's cooperative economics. But it becomes difficult for us to do that when we are binary thinkers, because we can't think into the complexities. Let me give you all another couple of things here. I just have a few notes I kept. I'm going to say this part like this. I think learning how to think, and this can help those of us who can't grasp this, both and, it will expand your creativity in a situation. So think about, let's go Martin and Malcolm. Both, think about truths that they both represent. And think about, and I'm saying Martin and Malcolm just because in pop culture they've pit them against each other. And you even hear politicians who are supposed to be smart picking sides. I'm going to tell you what else it does. And I forgot this part. It also puts us in a position where we are very, very easily manipulated. It's so easy to manipulate a person when you reduce them down to one way of thinking. All you got to do is keep tearing down the other side and keep attaching value to that one way of thinking. So if you all are scrolling YouTube and you say, you know what, there is so much that Minister Farrakhan says that is amazing. He's transformative, but somebody has attached value to you thinking otherwise. That's binary thinking. When you can't look at something, extract the truth, and create your own thought platform. And that's what the new book is pushing us to do. The new book, and I'm talking about this primarily because the new book is not, obviously, it's not an end all be all to our economic development. But what is it? It is, and I hope you all run out and purchase it because it's a way to raise our awareness. It's a way to get us to thinking more complex, to understanding that in order to get to these next levels that we are all desirous of, we have to learn how to be complex thinkers, because as you're elevating, things are going to happen. You got people like our president who filed bankruptcy, I don't know how many times. And if you're a binary thinker, you would think, well, that business person filed bankruptcy, so there's nothing to them. But these people keep going. Learning to think into the complexity is what's going to help us to survive. And especially even those of us that are deeply entrenched in pop culture. We spend a lot of time on the internet. We spend a lot of time on social media, a lot of time looking at that kind of stuff. You're probably marrying yourself to binary thinking. It's this or that. If I see this, then this got to be what's wrong. Because that's what we do next, right? It teaches us that once we pick a side, anything that's not related to that side is a problem or it's wrong. So it's this or that. Y'all remember that song? You can get with this or you can get with that. You can get with this or you can get with that. It was a hip hop song, but then pop culture was loving it. Even those of us that are leaders and want to go into politics, we have to learn how to think in a multifactorial way. We have to learn how to use other ways of thinking. And I have a lot about that in the book. You know, how as political leaders, those with influence, because a lot of us are being thrust into leadership and we don't necessarily want to, but we're there because of being an influencer. And so, as an influencer or a political figure per se, learning to think into the complexities is going to be very powerful. You can't lead people if you can't think outside the box. If somebody has your mind stuck in a box, you can't lead people. So, what is our takeaway for this? What do I want us to take from this before I move on to something else? I want us to take from this that we really have to force ourselves into looking at both sides of an equation. We have to force ourselves not to throw people away just because they're not perfect. We have to force ourselves not to discount the good that a person may bring to the table because of a flaw. We have to force ourselves to settle on the best part. And sometimes those of us as entrepreneurs, we take a good employee. Ooh, I just saw a hummingbird. We take a good employee and make it a bad manager or a bad leader. Why? Because we're binary thinking. Maybe that person is good at 2 or 3 skills, but they need support. It really goes down to being a lot more loving. And ultimately, I think this is why we ourselves throw ourselves away. And we go, nobody's going to like us. You have people who are returning citizens and go, I'm a felon. They ain't going to let me do this. Or I had a drug addiction. Nobody's gonna like me. Nobody's gonna care about me. Or this happened to me. It takes the love away and makes love very conditional. Makes love very, very conditional. This is to me, it's one of the problems that exist today in society with how we do business, how we interact with each other. It's very difficult for us to love one another because it's either this or that, this or that, this or that. They did this, and so I don't love them no more. They did that, so I'm throwing them away. And don't get me wrong, again, when things are complex and you understand complexity, there may be times when you just go, you know what, that's a deal breaker. But a lot of times, things that we are calling deal breakers, that really ain't no deal breaker. You just being a binary thinker because you don't want to own the process of being a complex thinker. You don't want to own it. You don't want to do it. You're lazy. You can't think of another way to think. And here's the other thing. You've emotionally attached yourself to whatever pain you've associated with a particular choice. And you're really just afraid that if you choose that other side, you're going to get hurt again. And then this is the other thing. We're so controlling. We don't want other people to choose the other side. We don't want other people to be complex thinkers. So as soon as something happens, we're like, I'm done. I'm out of here. It's over with. Really? And I have to take us back to Allah himself. All he got to do is just leave us alone. If he just said, you know what, you doing such and such, I'm just going to leave you alone. You know how messed up we would be? You know how many things we just could not do? Most of us would be like walking dead. It would be the most miserable thing ever if we lost the grace and mercy of Almighty God Allah. That's what this really boils down to. Just think, if God was a binary thinker, like, oh, you gained a few pounds, I ain't messing with you. We get grace. We get time to lose the weight. We get time to get ourselves together. We get time. And so let's work on and work through not allowing the operations of pop culture and social media to control the thought processes that we use on everything. Everything. You know what, the one place a lot of us are not binary is like with our children. Because you have people that, and then you'll say, man, why she didn't tell her daughter she couldn't sing? But the person will be on American Idol, they'll be everywhere, and the mom or dad will just be supporting them like, yes, baby, yes. But outside of that, we go right into binary thinking. So this is just something we got to work on, and you'll see that covered in the book. So what's going to happen? We're going to be doing some book signings. If you want to book me for a book signing, We're going to be doing some moving around the country, selling this book, presenting some of these concepts. We're going to do a big book signing at the Elijah Muhammad House. We still got our screening coming up. Um, Interestingly enough, the house is becoming so incredibly popular. I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, you know what? I pulled up and there was so many people outside taking pictures and looking and stuff that I just said, let me go around the block because I didn't feel like I was dressed or prepared. And it's a new reality, right? Because of the blessing that the house brings for all of us. We had some great tours last Saturday, and people were really impacted and really affected. And so, myself and my team, we are working to bring some really powerful content. We Right now our rate limiting step is that we just got to get finished, and then we'll once we get finished, all of you all that are emailing and calling and coming by, we'll be reaching out to you. We have a database with your information. We'll be letting you know, look, hey, we're open, whether it's for tours, some of our additional programming, and we've been doing spot programming, but we're going to do some more programming. And you'll see that this is going to be a different type of museum with a lot of different ways in which to monetize. I think we've got about 10 different revenue streams to help, bring that in, that are really apropos for the climate. Part of what's happening in the preservation world is that we have to change the model. Most of us have a nonprofit based model. And based on the landscape and the way things are nowadays, we're learning that we have to change that model. I think the nonprofit aspect can be part of your model, but you got to be very careful, because if the nonprofit dollars have dried up and you are in a position where you have to start thinking of other ways in which to make money for your organization or your facility, then you don't want to be commingling. So you have to be very careful and very mindful and be very cognizant of the rules in your state and how that thing goes, because that'll be the quickest way that you can easily get yourself in a lot of trouble. But our model is not per se a nonprofit model. It is a very strong for-profit model with a lot of programming, a lot of things. We're getting a lot of calls, especially now with a lot of the history being taken out of schools, where programs and organizations are going, hey, um, we want to bring our children there and we'll pay for it. We want to have a resort. We want to do a retreat. We want to have a meeting and we'll pay for it. And so we're finding people are starting to understand that, um, well, let me say it this way. Traditionally, when it comes to marginalized communities, it has been a nonprofit based model. But with other communities, the services and the support that they provide for one another are generally not nonprofit models, generally. And so you'll hear more about that. We're going to explore that and show you how to make that shift, not only so you don't get yourself in trouble, but so that you can sustain your organization. And Allah blessed me years ago to begin to have the unfolding. We just been crunching through trying to get it done, and it's a big project, y'all. It has taken a lot to get us to where we are today, and we cannot wait to show it to you. And so um, I know a lot of people are emailing me. I woke up this morning and look, I had 12 emails, people going, hey, I got a group. I think of those 12 emails, there are about 200 people that are like, I want to come, I want to come. So we've been doing private tours. When we get things completed, which inshallah will be very, very soon, it's very soon, we'll invite you all out. With the weather in Chicago now getting, it's going to start getting chilly, but we're in the 70s and 80s. we have a couple more outdoor events that we're going to do, and one of it is going to be the book signing. So stay tuned and stay close for that. Tomorrow, you all, is my birth anniversary. You all know that. You all know I explained last year that um, with the beginning of my birth anniversary, I always start a new year, and so I go into my 10 days, which is from August 30th to September 9th, when I got my ex and started this aspect of my spiritual journey. Um, and then I always start a new year. And so leading up to my birthday, people are always asking me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I don't typically, what I typically do is plan. And I go deep into planning. This year I was planning and working on the book. Um, Oh, thank you, Sister Monica. She said the sun has you shining and glowing like a bright star in the universe. Praise be to Allah. That, you know what, sis? That's all I want to do, is be a bright star in the universe. And if there's any way that I can shine light on something that's going to help somebody, I'm all about trying to hook somebody up and help people get to that next level. Speaking of which, let me see. I see y'all over here in the chat. Um, I see you, Sister Betty. She says, Happy Friday, everyone. Hey, Mom. Mom says, Happy Friday, everyone. Muslima Winbush says, Assalamu alaikum, family. And we say, Wa alaikum salam to you, family. Dress code is in the house. Wa alaikum salam. Sister Monica, I see you, sis. Just read the other comment from her. And she also says, Assalamu alaikum, great Friday, family. So that's how I see this time of the year. And so, because my birthday always used to come like when school would start back, then it would be time to go into planning mode, time to go into what are we going to do for the winter, what's up, what's happening next. And so I've been doing a lot of planning, a lot of planning, and I'm excited about this new year. Very excited about this new year. I just been going into some deep reflection, and inshallah, my gift is that I can bring to you some of the programs, some of the things that will help you get to that next level. And so that's why I put the Cash App up here. I say support the movement. I pay for things like this platform and the house and other things that we got to do. And this is important. I believe that this is part of my calling, supporting, helping people get to that next level, helping to preserve some of the legacy of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, just helping you all expand and grow in these day and times in which we are living in. All right. So thank you all. I appreciate you. Tune in tomorrow. It'll be the, I'm going to make sure I put this out here. The birthday broadcast. Okay. So tune in. It won't be one that'll be normal. We're going to play some music. We're going to have some fun. And I'll talk to you about some of the things that I can talk about, because I've learned that, you put some stuff out there too soon and people start copying and swearing to God that they thought of it themselves. um, but anyway, tune in tomorrow morning for a special birthday celebration and a kickoff of Deca Fest. All right. So thank you all. I hope you all got what I was trying to convey to you about binary thinking and how it reduces the depth of our love. It makes us make choices when we don't really want to make choices. It limits those that we serve. It's not something that is designed to be used for every single thing all the time. Okay, so get out of allowing pop culture and social media to reduce us to that. It's a very colonialized way of thinking, and I break that down in the book, how it's colonized people thinking, right? Because when we were colonized or when we were enslaved, we only had a number of choices, a limited number of choices. We didn't have the options. That's why I say one of the blessings that let me say it this way. Freedom means that you have options. Money gives you options. Love gives you options. Support gives you options, right? And so an enslaved people has very little options. And so in an attempt to enslave the minds of the people so that advertising can be targeted and effective and measured, then what happens is reducing down your choices, taking away your rights is what prevents us from being free. We'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow. I just think that's a powerful subject, and I'm like, man, this listen, this enemy, these advertisers and all these people out here that are part of this machine that's designed to enslave us, they are very wicked. Because when you start manipulating and taking away how a person thinks, and then you treat them so badly if they don't think the way you think they should think, you make them feel like they're not worthy of love. If they make a mistake, if something happens to them, if they need you, then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I can't stand you. Oh my God, I just think that is such a horrible way of being. And it's a reduction to binary thinking. So go look that up. You can Google it on YouTube and talk about binary thinking and learn what it is, learn the benefits of binary thinking, and learn the negativity associated with binary thinking. And you can also see how limited it makes us as human beings in our sojourn to be whole people. It's very difficult to be a whole person when you're a binary thinker, because you would look at yourself in the mirror and say, I don't look that good today, so I'm not worthy of being loved. I hear people, I was coaching somebody not too long ago who said, she was saying that she was, ready for a relationship. And she said that she had gained 40 pounds based on something that she had gone through. And she said, I'm not worthy of love because I'm 40 pounds heavier than what I should be. And I'm just hearing that. And we start unraveling it. And we start looking at the binary thinking that existed that produced that. And I said, here you are, almost suicidal, because you're thinking of yourself in a binary way. And I know I'm simplifying and I'm not trying to make light of anything, but listen, there's always a solution to everything. One thing about Allah, he's not like us. He's very merciful. So I told her, I said, you get your diet together, get your movement together, start doing some things, you'll lose the weight. She texted me the other day and she's like, I'm already down a couple pounds. It happens. Okay, family, I love you all, and I thank you all for tuning in today. Sister Monica says she liked the sun, but it's getting bright. So, but we'll see you tomorrow. We'll decide if we're going to do inside, outside, but we're going to do a little celebration. I really wanted to do tomorrow's broadcast at the lake. That was my initial thought. But we'll see if we're still going to do it. That means getting up, getting to the lake, and getting set up, but we may do it. We'll see what happens. All right. Peace and blessings, family. Love you all. Support the movement, support DECA Fest, and tune in tomorrow for my birthday celebration. Don't send me any gifts. Some of you all have emailed me and said, I got a gift for you. Donate to the cause. Donate to the cause. My whole life, everything is dedicated to this. And so donate to the cause. That's a gift for me. All right. And we'll see you all, inshallah, tomorrow. Okay, don't go anywhere. Peace and blessings.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible